My name is Deidra Patterson, and today I'm presenting my research on immigration misinformation in the United States. My project focuses on the rise of the so-called invasion narrative and how this kind of rhetoric spreads misinformation, shapes public perception, and ultimately justifies harsher immigration policies. My research asks a central question: how does immigration misinformation operate as propaganda in the United States? I argue that misinformation, especially the use of the word invasion, is not just a misunderstanding of facts, it is a deliberate political strategy that fuels fear, encourages xenophobia, and influences how people think about both immigrants and national security. To understand these modern narratives, we need to look at history. Fear-based messaging about immigrants has been present throughout the development of the United States. Different groups, such as Germans, Irish, Chinese, Italians, and Jewish immigrants, were all framed at different times as threats to American society. In 1929, border crossing was criminalized for the first time, and historians have shown that the lawmakers behind the policy openly cited eugenics and concerns about maintaining racial purity. This pattern reveals that today's panic over Latin American or Haitian migrants is not new. It is part of a long tradition of using fear to shape public opinion. Despite frequent claims from political leaders, migration is not legally, constitutionally, or historically considered an invasion. The Constitution defines an invasion as an act of armed hostility, something carried out by a military force. Courts have repeatedly rejected arguments that migrants qualify as invaders. So when politicians use the term, they are using it metaphorically and strategically. Calling migration an invasion helps justify dramatic solutions like militarizing the border, expanding police powers, or carrying out mass deportation campaigns. One of the clearest examples of how misinformation spreads happens in Springfield, Ohio. A false claim circulated online saying that Haitian immigrants were stealing and eating pets. This rumor started on extremist message boards, but it quickly spread to mainstream social media through memes, edited videos, and even AI-generated images. Some politicians repeated the claim publicly, which amplified it even more. Local police investigated and confirmed that there was absolutely no evidence for it, yet Haitian Americans in the city still faced harassment. This incident shows how misinformation becomes a propaganda tool that produces real harm, even when it is completely untrue. Media coverage also plays an important role in shaping how people imagine immigration. News and political ads often show migrants either as dangerous criminals or as helpless victims, with very little nuance. These simplified images create emotional reactions instead of informed understanding. And on social media, misinformation spreads even faster through memes, out-of-context videos, and AI-generated content. In this environment, fear-based narratives outpace factual reporting. When we look at credible research, the data strongly contradicts the fear-based narratives. Studies show that immigrants, including undocumented immigrants, commit crimes at lower rates than U.S. citizens. Fentanyl trafficking is also widely misunderstood. Most fentanyl is seized at legal ports of entry, and the majority of people caught transporting it are U.S. citizens, not migrants crossing the desert. Economically, immigrants contribute billions in taxes each year, filling essential roles in industries facing serious labor shortages. And finally, seeking asylum is completely legal under U.S. and international law. Most people with pending immigration cases do show up for their court hearings, especially when they have access to legal representation. So why does immigration misinformation spread so easily? The answer is that it works politically. The invasion narrative creates fear, and fear is an extremely powerful motivator in elections. It also provides a simple explanation for complex problems like crime, drug trafficking, and economic inequality. By identifying immigrants as the cause of these issues, politicians can redirect public frustration and strengthen loyalty within their political base. In other words, misinformation turns immigration from a policy question into an emotional battleground. These narratives have serious real-world consequences. They lead to harsher border enforcement, expanded surveillance, and increasingly punitive immigration laws. They also encourage discrimination and violence against immigrant communities who can become targets of harassment because of rumors and political rhetoric. Additionally, misinformation distorts voter understanding, making it harder to pass humane and effective immigration policies. When public opinion is shaped by fear instead of facts, policy becomes reactive rather than logical. Immigration misinformation in the United States is not random or accidental. It is part of a modern propaganda system with deep historical roots. The invasion narrative is designed to provoke fear, justify harsh policy responses, and distract from immigrants' real contributions to society. By understanding how these narratives work and by confronting them with factual evidence, we can move toward a more informed, humane, and realistic conversation about immigration. And this is my works cited page.